Well, hello. This is an attempt to help you reset or detox your nervous system. This is a new way of me telling my information in a way which is most appropriate to people first, and then to expand upon that. What I mean by this is my work is always about giving people and society 100% well-being or enlightenment. That is, living in a world of love as opposed to a world of fear. And as part of that process, a big part of it is to become socially comfortable and be able to do what you want to achieve, be it socialization, be it creating businesses, networking. That's a very powerful thing to be able to achieve. And yet I realized it's not necessary. So really, the whole socialization module can be put aside for now, which means I should be able to present this in an even simpler way. It's not to say that socializing isn't important, because 99% of people will want that module. But I was watching a table of a family this weekend enjoying their Christmas, and it occurred to me as I looked at each person and kind of tried to assess what was going on with relation to how I would have thought back in the day as well. And I realized there isn't any requirement for any person to achieve brilliant rapport or even adequate rapport. For instance, you could have that kind of special mind that makes you a mathematician or a musician or anything that's highly specialized from the word go. And so if I was looking at one of the people at the table and imagined that person to be highly specialized and capable, that person might be sitting there quite quietly and seemingly relatively enjoying the company. They may well be happily married with kids. They may be perfectly content without needing necessarily to really enjoy social contact. Now, this struck me as being, this could be really true. There's no need for people to love other people. However, it could be that this is a good way for me to start this thing and maybe even relabel what I'm doing. So I can then say perhaps, this is how you can reset, detox your nervous system to gain your inner calm without requirement to become social after this. After this, though, which should be nice and simple now, you have the option to put in the sociability module, which will be really easy because ultimately the fun part about sociability is that just do what works. We will be following what the rules of humanity are when it comes to installing the sociability module. The complex part is this first part, it's like the entry door in to personal well-being, to 100% mental well-being and not being bothered by depression or anxiety. Okay, so this is what I'm calling now. This is my first video on this with this kind of story, and I'll see how it goes. So our aim is to reset, detox our nervous system. I'm starting again with the clover. The clover is everything that is good for a clover is clover love. So as far as the universe goes, let's consider that when the Big Bang happened, there was a 1 or a 0 that first started it, right? A bit. Quantum bit probably. And everything came from that very first bit of informational change. Everything, including the clovers, including ourselves, including everything that you see outside of your field of vision right now. Everything you're listening to, every aspect of your experience evolved from that very first one. And if you expand that out to what you're experiencing right now, this is the process that you're a part of. Everything is here, supposedly, let's say supposedly for now, to be here. It's here for you to thrive, for any living individual or any living life form to thrive. So that's why the clover is here as an example. All clover seem to be operating at 100%. They're happy, they're fully formed and living in a world of moisture and soil, nutrition, air, even wind, removing the fungus, all of these things. So everything, when the universe puts any life form onto the world, it puts it onto the world for a start, because this is where we grow. Well, we've developed, haven't we? It's wrong to say the universe puts us here. Nobody puts us here. We've all developed since that initial quantum bit to be existent right now. Now, for a clover, it doesn't have to think and get confused. Everything it needs is right outside itself. And hence, the point here is that everything outside of you is here to help you to become 100%. And our job is to just make sure we avoid doing all the things that bring our percentage of well-being down to low levels, which is typically what goes on. The world is currently, who can guess the number, the percentage of wellness that we're operating at? But when I ask people, and I say 30%, a lot of people say 20. So, it's really low. Our point here is to get ourselves, because nobody else can do it for us, to get ourselves to operate at 100% well-being, so that we can have a beautiful life and be productive and simply enjoy ourselves. In the relaxed, calm state of a clover, or a person who's been put into a world, into a universe where everything is love. That's why I call it clover love. See, for a clover, the water, the soil and the nutrients, the air, the wind, the sunlight, that's love for a clover. That's everything a clover needs. But language is human, right? It belongs to us. So whereas human love, what we just call love, is everything that's good for us. So now we're calling this a scientific love, because we're defining it as being everything that's good for a human being. I'm laboring this point because it's really important to know. The reason being is that this word here doesn't get used in therapy, and yet this word here, if it's defined as being everything that's good for a human being, which is scientifically defined love, we can start with this. We can say, okay, love is what we want. This feels natural to us. Okay? This is why this is all natural and good, because it's all inarguable. Okay? This is a totally new way that you're going to find as an option. And you should find not only that it works, but that it's the shortest way to achieve your nervous system reset and find your inner calm. The reason that that's the case is because we're using scientific version of love. And I'll explain why this is important later, but it should make sense to you at this stage. Everything around a life form is love. Look at you, look around you right now. Everything you see and experience has passed from that initial quantum bit through 13.8 billions of years of evolution. And now we all are right here, right now, surrounded by love. So how come we don't feel it? It's because we've gotten all confused. It's because our animal mind is still running a fear program which is damaging the way we perceive everything around us. It's getting in the way. It's much more coarse-grained. See, the love vibration, if you will, is very subtle. And if we're paying attention to all the coarse-grained stuff, we're going to get hijacked by those sensibilities. When if we really want to fill our lives with calm and love and be who we truly are and not hijacked along crazy pathways of actions and thoughts, we need to if we want to do it the quickest way possible, we're going to use this definition of love, scientific love, everything that's good for a human being. It is really important, so trust me, this is going to be your new path to success and your objectives here. So all it's saying, though, after all of that, all we're saying is we are inherently love. This is who we are. It's the first program running. Like for the clover, it's seeking growth, it's seeking sunlight, it's getting nutrients to maintain itself, to repair itself, to fight off bacteria that might be harmful. Okay? Same with us. Our first program is one of pure bliss of love. This is when we're born. And ideally, we don't want that love interrupted. We just want to feel that all the way through our lives. This is impossible, but this is the goal. All right? You don't have to be social. You don't have to be anything. But you want to know that you're capable of becoming blissfully calm. Okay? This is the point number one. This is your natural birthright in the same way as a clover and every life form that you can think of out there. Insofar as we are, everything around us is love. Messed up by the fear program. We're going to deal with that, and in a way which is going to use love. And because of that, we're going to be able to clear ourselves of our difficult pasts, our traumas, and our personality defects really easily and beautifully and calmly and in the course of just living. So what I'm about to describe is going to be an instant reset to the nervous system, and explained, I hope, in a way where you absolutely know why this will work and how it will work, so that you're totally in charge of it. It's just knowledge. This nervous system reset, or 100% mental enlightenment that we're going for, 100% mental well-being, I don't want to trigger you, you see. But what we're aiming for here is your best self, natural self, unencumbered by anything, in the same manner as a clover is not encumbered by anything. All right? Love makes everything work in a strongly mechanical and logical way. Now, I use the word mechanical here because we don't tend to think of love as being like a cog in an engine. But when love is defined as everything that's good for a human being, and when you consider that concept with regards to any life form, as simple as a clover as well, you find out that it mechanically is what makes health. It's the universe's procedure of creating perfect life. This totally fits with the word as we know it. But it's mechanically true. When we use love, which doesn't mean our brains fall out and we just become silly, but when we have an understanding of ourselves and an understanding that we are love inherently, we're going to start with the best, the strongest mindset where it comes to, for instance, if you meet somebody who's struggling, you're going to know that inside that person is love. We just need to uncover it rather than try and tell them from the top down, this is what you should do to replicate love. We're not going to be replicating anything here. We're going to work. This is why this is the most powerful system. We're going to be working directly with love. So you may have noticed, you probably haven't. Well, you have. No, you have. Everybody is used to this concept that, for instance, all spiritual paths, religions, everything, they all go the same way, don't they? We've said that sentence before, that in the end, there's a thing that people call God, or people call love, and every therapeutic path, every wise person, every good parent, every trusted friend, any good leader will tell you that it's all going in the way of what we call God or love. Those two things are very interchangeable. So if you don't like the word God, use love. If you're happy to use the word God, you can use that, because whatever is in your mind that works the most powerfully is fine, and either of those are good. But it's not just with regards to religions and such. We've all said that sentence, that all those religions, yeah, they're all the same, they all say the same kind of thing. And then we don't know what to do with it because, well, religion hasn't really delivered global well-being. Partially, but it's all in the right path, as we're saying. Okay, what about other methods? What about, well, we talked about the spiritual paths, Buddhism and Stoicism. Any prescribed, these are all top-down ways of prescribing a way to be, okay? A way to be. This is what I call this thing that we're after, a way to be. And it's going to be the best way to be is the objective, obviously. But the spiritual paths also, but they're all top down, right? It's all prescribing it. Like Stoicism, there's going to be a bunch of sentences, and you live to those sentences. And when you do, it's like putting you on this river that we intuitively know is the calm, beautiful way to be. So, now I can tell you why we're focusing on this word love. Because when love is not a silly thing, not just about kindness and community and what have you, which is not silly at all, but when it's held by definition as being everything that's good for a human being, then love becomes the thing that all of these things are trying to imitate. Love is the channel. And for humans, this is true, but for all the universe, everything, as I say, clover have their own kind of love. A cat has its own kind of love. We're all animals. We have an animal origin. But now that we have higher awareness, because we can think about what we're doing and why we're doing it, because we can think about what we're thinking and why we're thinking it, we have this thing called higher awareness. When we use that, and when we understand this beautiful thing, that we are love, this is the correct start. Okay? This is the correct start. We are love, and instead of trying to imitate something that resembles love, we're going to use it directly, and that's why this is going to be your most effective method and understandable method for doing your detox of your nervous system. Because you're going to see that it works how it works. Okay? You won't have to trust me about anything, because everything I say here is just true. So, if you're a little skeptical about what I'm saying, you've probably gone already. But if you're not, or if you're unsure, you may go for a walk and just consider this point for a start. Everything is love. That's kind of the number one understanding that you're going to need in order to do this. And it's a beautiful one, and it's true. So that's perfect. For humans, love is everything that is good for us, including air, water, food, kindness, and community. It should make perfect sense that love is the purest and strongest tool to clear human emotional confusion, that is, to emotionally heal. This is the point I've just made. And then, for gender social ability, we should use what works. It is easy with a calmed nervous system and included here too. So we're going to cover that as well, surprisingly, Everything you need to literally transcend is going, and to do it today, or today and tomorrow, because I think it takes 2 days to install this into your mind. But you'll be on that path straight away, and you'll understand that you are too, and you'll understand how and why, everything. This is why this is important information. Okay, so now we're going to look at what's next. This, I think, is a diagram that shows what's next. I'm going to pause this for a second and then come back. Okay, so let me underline this one more time. You've learned so far that we are love, and that hopefully, scientifically, you can understand logically, in fact, the primary program in every living thing is everything that thing needs to survive. And for humans, we're calling that love. Air, water, food, kindness, and community. This is the part of our timeline when we're absolutely healthy, when we're living that clover life. Just bliss. We typically refer to this, and historically, we say, we know it's important to know thyself. This is kind of biblical thing. This goes back thousands of years, of course. Everything I say here is based on all human knowledge. Okay? Not just science, not just spiritual, not just religion. It's everything put together in a cohesive, sensible way. Except that we're using love for the first time in therapy in a true way. I can expand on that soon, later. But this is where we're at the moment. So when we're born, we have to struggle. We have to, because our brains are still developing, obviously. We have to go through a period of gradually understanding this experience that we're in. And a lot of people can go right to the end of their lives without really realizing that they have options. Because this is a life where somebody's just responding to whatever happens next. They're overthinking, they're wondering what everybody else is thinking, they're so alert that they are feeling a bit frazzled a lot of the time. There's a lot of good stuff happens in here too, but it's still there's a sense of struggle, and that's why, in the end, it's the reason why we feel we'd love to do a nervous system detox or reset. Because we understand we're operating in a way which is kind of too fast. So this diagram is simply here to explain that. And once we've done when you've understood this video, and because I use the language of reprogram, when you reprogram your mind or align your mind with love, as we're going to do in this video, you suddenly appear at this point, and very quickly you realize you're on this new way to be, okay? And it's easy then from anywhere on here, because this goes on forever. You keep on, it's amazing. This is, can I just say, when you're on this buzz, I call it a buzz, but when you're on this way to be, you can still remember all of these things, and you still know what you did and how you behaved. But the difference of being in control, when you know thyself, is astounding. And that's where this revelation kind of idea comes in with enlightenment. The difference is profound. In fact, I can say, maybe at this point, no, I'll wait, because I don't want to trigger you, but it's profound, okay? Now, this explains why as well. When we live in a world, if our consciousness can be anywhere on this scale. If you're right over here, then you want to end it all. If you're right over here, you're having the best time imaginable. Conceptually, that's what this diagram says. And we're all anywhere on this at any particular part of our lives. Now, we start off as love. As a baby, all our needs are met, but gradually, as we learn and find out that everything isn't the way we want it to be, we can easily find our way down here. Most of society is now living down here because we're becoming all reactive. We expect everything to be the way we want it to be. We lock ourselves away. We don't want to meet any people anymore. We're finding satisfaction on the computer screen instead of with other people. And that's going to vanish gradually. Well, no, it won't. I won't go into that. Hopefully, there'll still be a lot of good use for the internet and a lot of mostly entertainment it will be. But we don't want to, I don't think any of us would say that we would like our lives to be a computer game and that's all. This is not what the universe has intended, and it's not a happy clover. So it can't possibly be a satisfying life. I took too long explaining that. But anyway, so here's the thing. The main thing of this diagram is, here is where depression is. This is a disheartened state. Because we are love. When we are love and recognize love all around us, we're living in here. The doors are all open. The opportunities are all there. And if we go through a door, there's another row of options and doors. Life is a series of successes. This is how you live in a way which is absolutely stunningly beautiful, with all your natural faculties running well. And when you maintain this, and you do have to maintain it, otherwise it's easy to go gradually down here. When we maintain it, this is knowing thyself and living the path of that happy clover. This is an enlightened mindset. This is not a watered down enlightenment. This is absolutely highest level enlightenment. Now, as I said, you can push yourself out to here, but if you're a fundamentalist on anything, it's going to cause you stress again, isn't it? So the idea is to stay as high up here without causing yourself stress, without needing to be right up here, okay? None of this is difficult, is what I'm trying to say. This is the easiest way to live, literally, because you're no longer suffering so often and being confused. With this life, you can really focus on the beautiful things and really feel them. Your nervous system, part of what we're going to be doing here is we're going to rediscover your inner calm, okay? We're on that path right now. Stay with us. I'm going to teach you to find your inner calm. But if you understand that this is where you want to be, and it makes sense to you, which it should, you'll want to make sure you don't, any aspects of yourself which are back down here, you'll want to correct them, okay? So that you can easily find your way back here. And I've got the method for you to do that, not just for small things that happen in your life today, but for all the things that have happened in your past as well. We want to get out of this disheartened position. We want to live in a world of love, of opportunity. So the people, you'll recognize that in the modern world, people are living in a world of fear. They have anger, they express anger, they have suspicion, cynicism, reclusiveness. This is what we're trying to get out of. When we're here, we're calm. All right, so that's that sheet done, I believe. Let me see if it's still working. Yes, good. All right, now, again, the beautiful thing about this, so remember, we're using the one the universe has built for us, love. We're going to be doing this. We're not going to be prescribing things that are sort of like what you want. In this, I'm making you aware of the true thing that you want to change, that you want to become aware of. So this diagram, again, is about the love thing. We are love, we're born. And now what happens is we have the fear code operates, right? Because of the fear code, we end up, our love gets distorted and we're disheartened, we've done that. It's because of the fear code, because the love code is perfect. Now, the love code alone maximizes us in our options. That's what we're after. Now, in order to achieve this is a beautiful thing we're about to do right now. We're adding a simple word. We're familiar with fight, flight, freeze, and fawn as fear responses, but we're adding now formulate. This is about one of the most beautiful things about all of this, because it makes it so teachable. When we understand that we're love, and when we add formulate as an option on the fear program and teach this to young children at the right times, they'll understand in themselves, oh, of course I've got to think twice. What do I have to do? I have to know I'm love. I have to find the love and make sure I stay on that path of well-being, of enlightenment, and not go off the road into that disheartened state. So this becomes then a totally natural thing for a human being to do if they're taught this. And clearly, this is not a lie or anything weird. This is just absolute, inarguable truth as we have come to know it from thousands of years of thinking about these things. And lately, particularly, because a lot of data is now, and we can access so much data because of the internet. So this is not strange. It's just that this idea, its time has come. And this idea that is on my channel, it's the big idea that everybody's been waiting for, insofar as it will deliver the human dream. You can see that on my other videos, though. So, but this is an important diagram because it explains the formulate option. This is also kind of like, I said how everything that's in what I tell you is from all the human paths to find love or God, right? So this model here, this diagram here, I tend to think of as the Jesus model, because in history, Jesus is the only one who actually seemed to know the mechanically strong power of love, insofar as the do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and forgiveness. Jesus was the exponent of love. Now, what happened after that is a whole bunch of stories developed, and they had mystical things, but that was 2,000 years ago. People expected mystical things in their stories. It was quite normal, and if there weren't any, it was probably there wasn't much of a meme. The story didn't travel very well. So we have to forgive that as part of the times, that they added levels of the story on, like coming back from the dead, walking on water, and all those sorts of things. But religion in the next couple of years, because of this information, the other information in my other videos, religion will start to focus on the words of Jesus rather than the stories about Jesus. And when that happens, religion and science can hold hands, because there's nothing to argue about. Okay? So this is all, you're on the right path. I do want you to know, stay comfortable, because I hope you're feeling mind blown right now, because I hope you're confident that this is going to be the right thing. And I promise you, it is. All right, so this is the Jesus diagram. Now, this is more of a Buddhist diagram because it has to do with this object here, which represents our personality or ego. Now, like this is the perfect thing for the human being, using formulate, an enchanted ego has light coming from underneath the table through the hole, and it goes right through the bulb of our ego or our personality. It just shines. We just shine with love. And we've met people like this before. They don't literally shine, but they're calm. And they seem to be, you can't fluster them. They're unflustered. They're graceful. They have this inner understanding. They know themselves. What I'm teaching you here is that secret, that thing which is so obscure that people don't know what it is. I'm telling you what that is right now. It's all in this video, and you'll soon have that. or you'll be able to culture that into yourself, into your own autopilot. You'll create the neural pathways which will find that pure love within yourself. Again, underlining it, it's not going to be where your brains fall out. You can be as exactly the same as you are walking around today, except that you will be unflappable, okay? And you'll have joy and energy to give to others, and it'll just emanate from you just being there. People will just sense it in you when you're doing it well. When you get used to how much power you have suddenly, it's kind of a bit strange as well. But it's all, the option is there, and you'll understand. The biggest point of all of this is that you'll understand how this all works, and it'll just be up to you. And that's the ever-growing path. It's not a growing path, it's just the unending path is to carry on just trying to grow a little more, without worrying too much. Again, you don't want to be frustrated because you haven't gotten right to the edge here. We're going to do this in a sensible way. Okay, now, hopefully you're still comfortable. Let's go onto this diagram properly. Nobody gets this, do they? Because we have to go through this event. And in that, by year 10, our bulbs are discolored, they're slightly deformed, the light's not getting through as much. We're just confused, and we had no option. By year 20, from a lot of people, some people manage to escape it, but nobody escapes unscathed, okay? But a lot of people, far too many in society now, have no clue, don't know what to do. They've developed this reactive ego. It's deformed, the light's really not coming through at all anymore, and now they are literally either locking themselves away and talking about how much of a victim they are online. It's everything is closed down for them, and this is a terrific, terrible thing to have happened, considering that this is available for every one of us. Pure beauty and health. So by year 20, we've gotten to this reactive, sad state. So the idea is we need to clarify. We can't get rid of the deformation because that's our history. We can't forget where we've been, and neither should we want to, because also in here are our blisses, even our fetishes and fantasies. It's all in here, and everything that we can use to make ourselves feel more alive and fantastic, we should use. But this is our objective. We're going to use what's called the KFAG model, which is a mental model which is based on love. KFAG stands for kindness, forgiveness, acceptance, and gratitude. When we install that into our brains, it's sort of like reinforcing our original program and saying, this is who I am. Anyway, that's the most exciting part of this whole thing, is when you get to install this KFAG model. But the result of it is that you end up with a state of zero victimology. As I said before, you end up becoming okay with all of your past. You accept it, and in fact, you're happy to have had it because it's made the person that you are today. And there's so much good in that person. Unbelievable. So again, these are just diagrams. Again, this is just knowledge. You don't have to remember anything. Not entirely true. Because your brain is the way that it is, it's going to forget this. Tomorrow, you won't really remember much of this. You might remember it a little bit, but it won't be powerful enough. It won't be in the front of your brain enough for it to be effective. So part of this process is to do it on purpose, okay? To know thyself and to be in control. You can't do this if you're not doing it, okay? If you don't understand it. If you understand it, then you will do it, is more probably the better way to say it. You'll understand that you have to maintain it, which is a blissful thing. It's more than a blissful thing. Okay, so the experience when you're in this place, is so exciting. Did I say this before? The difference between this experience and this experience is profound, the highest level difference you can imagine. And maintaining this is not a chore. If it starts to feel like a chore, that's a clue that maybe you're getting distracted into negativity and things like this, because there is plenty of time to do this. And for the results that you get from it, there is nothing more worth doing than spending that time with yourself to reap the benefits of being alive and in this beautiful, amazing world. All right, so far in this amazing system, you don't really have to know anything, because this is just, this is just knowledge. You don't have to remember anything, okay? What I was saying before is, so you'll want to watch this video maybe again tomorrow, skip a day, watch it again on the third day after that, then skip 2 days, watch it again, and that would be most ideal, because you know yourself, if you fall off the path, you'll end up back and feeling things like this, and there's just no point. There is 0 point. Considering all the goodness that you're going to experience, the healing that you can bring to other people, the attraction towards other people and for their attraction towards you, how everything will work. Suddenly, everything will work. I can't really overstate how amazing this is. I'm going to say at least as well right now that you will know everything. When you're here, you know everything. It just strangely happens. And I can explain that quickly to you insofar as all those paths that we talked about before. There's an expert for every one of these paths, global experts, therapists, sports optimizers, people of the highest stripe. They're all these experts, and if you ask about self-esteem or returning confidence to a person, you could get this, you could think, oh, let me go online and consult with the experts of the world. And they will generally tell you the right way. But when you know that you are love and you're just using love, you've already internalized it. You don't have to consult anybody. You know the answer. You're there. And this is true. It's inarguable. You see, truth is another word for God. It's another word for love. The guru paths, you think they're mystical. They're also true. Those adventurers within consciousness. When you understand this, then you can go and listen to the mystical people, and it turns out it's less mystical than you thought, because it's all just totally true. It's all a case of finding out who we are. They don't use the word love either in Buddhism, because again, it's top down. You see, here's the brain, and then we have our nervous system. Our spine comes down here somewhere, right? And so our original nervous system is in here and at the base of the brain, and it joins to our major organs, because we're ultimately just a cell, aren't we? A cell with a head. So we're going to refer to love as the heart shape, because we feel it in our chests, don't we? And our intuition in our stomachs. It quite possibly happens, a lot of it at the base of the brain as well, but we're going to stick with this convention of saying this is the heart, this is love. And in the mind and the brain, that's our intellect. But when we were living with our hearts, we are unconfused. It's just as simple. So that's the reason why we end up knowing everything. Okay. So what have we got to? We understand why people are going wrong. This is sensible to do now then. As I said before, this is called a way to be calm and capable. Again, you don't have to be social, you see. It's guaranteed because you're going to know how this works, because you'll be as much of an expert as me, because you're using love, right? Not a top-down method, but a core method. The core method, which up to this point has only been available to religion, right? Because God and love are the same thing. So you can see when people have their religious revelations. I saw Johnny Cash speaking on a video the other day. When this Johnny Cash, if you know his story, amazing story, amazing person, went through the whole drug thing with regards to singing music and being a performer. And then he found God, and when you see him talking about it, well, it's really easy to understand. He literally has found God. But it's exactly the same as saying he's found love. Again, just switch those ideas around. Now, the only trouble with this is that the church is still leading with the cross, which is a representation of somebody who came back from the dead, right? That whole story. So that's got to change. The church in the next couple of years is going to change to some kind of love symbol. It might have a cross in there too, for its historical context. But when the church changes to this and talks about what Jesus said about love rather than the mystical stories, which is going to happen because it's just time to do that, this will all make sense when you watch my other videos, then we're all unified. There is no separation between science and logic and the heart. It's all one. There's no gap. It's just beautiful. That's a whole other video. I've already done videos like that. Go and find that out if you like later. Do that later. Look after yourself first. But this is why you'll know everything. This is why it's true. And this is why you don't need to learn anything. All right? It's all true. It's 100% free because it's all in this video. It's guaranteed because you'll know that this is true and why it works. You don't have to believe me. It's the path of every scientist, psychologist, sports optimizer, any logical thinker. It's the same path, as I said before, with the Buddhists and the spiritual paths, and it's the same path as the religions would have. And it's all to do with what we call love. Truth, love, God. Okay, so synonyms, here we go. Truth, love, and God, and energy. Now, I've put in energy and consciousness here because they're the dipoles of experience, right? Consciousness is everything inside of us. Energy is everything outside of us. That's reality. So physics, in terms of physics, whether it's a planet, a plant, or empty space, it's all indicated by the letter E, which stands for energy. It's the one that Einstein used, E equals mc squared. So E is everything that's outside of consciousness. And consciousness itself, well, that wouldn't then include everything, all of experience. And all of experience is what the universe has brought to us. So it's interchangeable with all of these words. And love, of course, as we've said, everything that's good for a human being. And so it's a good thing, quite often, it's useful to know that when you have ideas, they're like clouds. And if you have another supporting idea near it and another supporting idea, like a table with the legs, it holds the idea aloft because it has those legs of logic. I tend to think in terms of clouds, and when enough clouds around an idea form, they just tend to become one and they become a knowing. It's just something then that's totally supported and reliable as truth. So this is another one of those clouds. When you consider who we are, so I'm going to be telling you why we're love again, just in case you're not entirely convinced. So we're just talking about intellect and our hearts, right? We have our brains up the top and we have our intellect at the top, which we're going to say is our logical overthinking part. 10,000 years ago, we didn't have physics. We didn't know all this. We didn't have any of the data we have today, relatively, right? So we can't say that we are our intellect. That just can't be true. Because 10,000 years ago, If you watch the reality series Naked and Afraid, there's one where they compete for a prize. Only one. And if you watch that one, you can see these high-level people, motivated people working together in a community as a beautiful example of who we really are. We're love, we're family, we're supporting each other, community, we have purpose, we have motivation, we have rapport and creativity. This is what I call original farmer's mind. So if you imagine a person 10,000, 12,000 years ago, Göbekli Tepe anytime, 20,000 years ago, 80,000 years ago, who we are is our humanity. Now the tools we have are logic, science, law, efficiency, economics, education, systems. This is the modern world. And because of that split between religion and science a few hundred years ago, our modern world doesn't really, it knows that stuff exists, but it's not science, it's not logic. You see, and so it gets ignored. And we struggle to try and find a place for who we are in the modern world. It's a bit crazy, isn't it? When religion delivers love, Jesus' love, actually, you could say, to the world properly in the next 2 years, and the church doors open. So this is going to be how beautiful it is. Let me explain this quickly. In 2 years' time, church won't be anything like it is today. It'll still be available for people who still want to do it. But the religion, all churches, all religious paths will turn to these ideas, because if they don't, they will be ignored. It's just going to be that simple. And here's the reason. This is how it will work in the way that fits with the human dream. All church grounds on Sundays will be open all day for tea and cakes, supplied by local businesses. Single people can go there any time of day and meet other single people. Couples can go there any time of day, meet other couples there. It really is a social day. Of course, there will also be presentations of bands and people who are talking about and just enjoying love and life, but also there'll be some chats. Priests, they'll talk about Jesus' love. They'll also invite some Buddhists to talk about their way to be. Everyone will come to the all historical methods of finding personal transcendence will be willed to come and be available to every person, except that every person will already know it, because this stuff is so simple and we'll be able to teach it so easily that it'll still be interesting, all that stuff, but really will be solved. We won't need it so much anymore, because we'll be too busy, darn well, enjoying ourselves and finding solutions to things like global warming and nuclear fusion, right? Because once you're filled, once you're happy and calm and motivated, as well as having just bliss and fun with other people, we are motivated to go out and figure stuff out. And those major things that we need to figure out will be done really fast when we're all motivated and going for it. I mean, 100x, right? Times as fast. Because right now there are very few scientists for the number of population we have, because so much of the population is unwell. Okay, so keep original farmer's mind in mind if you want to have these clouds join, to get to the point where you understand that we are all love, and that there is just no point in saying that that's not true. It just is pointless to say that. Okay, so now what's left? Finally, now we get to the part that's actually the mechanism by which, I'm going to take a little break now, re-energize this fraction. But next we're going to do the K-Fag model. I'm going to explain what that is and how one would go about doing this. It's really easy. You're going to be blissed out because you'll be in control. I'm so happy for you. I'm going to put it on pause though, and we'll do that soon. Okay. Now remember I did say before that the sociability part, you can add that on as a module. I can mention at this point the sociability part is when you've done this, when you know thyself, the sociable part is really, really a no-brainer. It just falls in your lap. Remember, when you know yourself, you're just a happy clover. There's no reason for anybody to not want to be social. We all want to be social when we're all well. Okay. All right, so we're doing now the KFAG model, which is just a blast. Again, because it's so simple and you don't really have to learn anything. So it's simply a model of self. This is all about identity. You'll figure out that this is all about identity. Who the heck are we? We are love. We've established that that's true, and we're going to be using it directly in a way which is true, which hasn't even been done before. You can do it through religion, but then you have to go through a whole lot of hoops and everything, which are difficult. I mean, religion currently, the way it's doing its thing is it's helping itself turn people away, which is an insane thing. What Jesus was talking about is this, but this is not religious, okay? That's kind of the point I'm making. But because the mystical stories got in front of love, turns out that was not a good thing. So here's one way of looking at that, which is sensible and correct. Even in the course of finding out this information about who we are, how to know thyself, the thing about the whole religion thing, the thing about the rift between science and religion that happened a few hundred years ago, all of that had to happen to get to this point where we suddenly find that we're good. All right? We couldn't get born. Likewise, as a person, you can't just get born and be here and have everything go absolutely swimmingly, right? It's not possible. We have to go through this. When we get through this as an individual, we look back at this and think, that's fantastic that all that happened because I had to go through this to get to this point. And as I said before, this point is so blissful that you're happy to have gone through all that, to have found your way. This is another way of saying that the whole transcendence thing becomes the whole point of being alive. At this point, if you think it's not, later you'll realize it is, because the difference is so profound. Now, as a society, the rift between science and religion also had to happen for us to get to this point. And that's why I say religion will, and all the other religions, all the paths will accept this. Because if any path refuses, what they're saying is we want a world of death. This is dying. This is like a clover with 70% cancer. Okay? This all makes total sense. Watch this video again tomorrow. Skip a day, watch it again. Get this into your mind and everything will make sense. And you will find you are in control to reinstate your inner calm, get your nervous system reset. All right, how did I get here? Okay, so we're back to the KFAG model. So this is all so simple. We have our autopilot. This is all our burned neural pathways that we typically use. And so what I think today and the sorts of thoughts I have today will be similar to the ones I have yesterday and the day before that, until I decide to burn some new neural pathways. And that's kind of your job. Now you can try and do that slowly by tilting your autopilot into this new way to be, as you'll get to learn it here. Or you can try and force it in as soon as possible. But one way or another, you do anything that works. But here's your understanding of who you are. Our autopilot is what we're doing just as animals. This is that reactive thing, right? We just do whatever reaction happens. That's how all animals live. This is all about transcending our animal origin. So you'll notice animals also fight and eat each other and all sorts of weird things, right? All the negative stuff, anything that's damaging to another human being is part of the animal aspect of being human. But that's the part, because we have higher awareness, we can now achieve this level of being. And the world doesn't quite realize that, because the door's been, well, it's been complex to find a way to do that. But by liberating love, we can do this much easier. And religion will find itself happily right in the middle of everything again. So this is all just naturally wanting to happen. And remember, it's going to deliver this human dream. Go and watch my other videos. This is so ready to happen now. It's unavoidable, I've started to believe. That next year, this is going to start, because it's so true. People can only go towards what's true and reliable. Okay, so we understand what our autopilot is, and our CEO is simply our awareness. So we have this ability now, and the humans are possibly the only ones who can do this with this ability, is we can see what we're thinking, and we can figure out why we're thinking it, and we can decide whether it's useful to carry on doing that activity or not. Likewise with our actions. We're just going to check on ourselves and see, oh, is this who this guy is? So I'm Eric. When I'm living in this path here, just comfortably and regularly, because it's fun. This whole thing is easy. Living this way is the best. You will see. But when living this life, I can look at myself however it happens. And sometimes it's every 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Sometimes it could be a whole day or two before I really, because there's levels of how aware you can be, okay? If we're living down here, you can be aware at this point, but you can be aware at this point, or really go meditate and take the big picture, which is that thing of almost like the clover thing, right? That everything is just here on this cusp of today, of this moment, this second. We're riding this waveform, and everything is here, is a present to us. It's the present, isn't it? That's what the truth is. It's love, except for where there isn't. And usually for humans, where there isn't, it's caused by other humans, because we're still being reactive, still thinking that this is a way that will work best, when this is really, really a bad way to live. All our dreams only will work when we become aware and live that as individuals. So while I say that the world is going to transcend in starting next year, nobody needs to wait. We don't need to go, oh, okay then, let's turn on the news and see what's going on. We will do that, because this is going to be really exciting. But in the meantime, we just do this. Okay, the KFAG model. We get on with it for ourselves. And this is how all around the world, the blooming, the flourishing of humanity, of the heart, of love, is just going to happen, and eventually end all wars as well. Everything that you dream of will happen, because of the simplicity of this information now. Okay, so we're keeping an eye on ourselves. Now, underneath our level of awareness, we don't know, right? That's the difficult part. We don't have access to our subconscious. And it's so layered and there are so many influences in there that going down there would be difficult anyway. However, we can simplify the whole darn thing by installing a few other words, which, if I just say, be loving, that's something. But, normally when we're trying to achieve things, we like a little extra information. So we've broken the word love into 4 separate things: kindness, forgiveness, acceptance, and gratitude. When Johnny Cash was speaking, he was saying the word God, but you can see the word love, and you can see that when this was in his soul, he was able to step out of that part of his life, which got really, really, really bad. Okay? From this point he was speaking, and you can see that this was in his heart. God, love, truth. Scientists, take note, it's truth. Okay? This is how love is going to bring science home. I have a formula called love equals energy. It's to say that we are one with a universe of love. It's a true formula. And scientists, everybody, you see how everybody on the planet can now focus on this real truth that we are love. It's amazing that it's taken this long, but it's taken this long because we didn't have the internet. I'm a generalist, and which is probably a simple way to say I'm lazy. I want to find the quickest way to do anything. But it's only because of all this information I've been able to listen to all those best podcasts in the world and those amazing people that keep showing up and telling us everything they know, whether they be religious, whether they be spiritual, whether they be scientifically based. We get to see everything they have to say. And it's only because all of this has been able to be accessible for so long now, a number of years, that this truth has come out. And this, of course, now is my life purpose, is to try and get this out. But I don't have qualifications, so it's difficult, okay? My qualification is just being human and being interested. Okay, so now, so what does this mean? All it means, I reckon, take a weekend. So on Saturday morning, you go through and you're going to install the kindness block. And it's like a block of gold. But you want to go into deep thought, now either through meditation or just take a long walk in a boring place. Make sure there's not too many distractions. Whatever you need to do, go and sit on a bench with a massive view. A beautiful view that's not too interesting, but just is full of beauty. And then just imagine how that, it stops your mind. It's so beautiful. How everything has come from that first one, and that we're right here, and that it's all love. It's all here for us. It's profound. So that might be a good one. Sit on a park bench with a beautiful view on a beautiful day. And then think about kindness only for about half an hour. It takes 10 minutes before you even get into the zone, right? This is always the case whenever you change into work mode or do whatever mode. It's going to take 10 minutes to get your brain into that level. That's why we meditate as well. It takes 10 minutes of relaxed breathing. In churches, people will pray, and no doubt after 10 minutes of prayer, people have found that space again where they're alone with themselves, where they can have that chance to be able to see the world from this point of higher awareness. You see, all of these things are the same. Hypnosis too, where we're doing therapies and having a therapist talk our way down into ourselves, using hypnosis to do the same thing, having somebody else bring us to our calm centers. It's all one, okay? So we take let's say at this time we're going to be sitting on this beautiful park bench. We're going to go through the first 10 minutes. We're thinking about anything that's kind that has occurred in our lives. Kindness we've done, kindness we've seen, kindness we've received. We're going to be thinking about being kind to the planet. We're going to give patience. Here's the big part about each of these blocks, is it goes two ways. Remember, we've got those two sides of being, the consciousness and the outside world, the energy outside and the love on the inside, scientifically speaking. So we need both domains to be sorted. So we apply kindness to ourselves as well as to the world and the people in it. This is the position of love. This is the one we want to get back to because it's our natural selves. If we want to be those happy clover, that calm, beautiful, and charismatic happy clover, we want to install this kindness block. Now, after doing this for that first 10 minutes and then maybe another half an hour or however long it takes. But at some point, you are going to, or like I did before, you're going to realize that this is something which is inarguable, undeniable, notwithstanding, we're not going to let our brains fall out, but we're going to open our hearts to be able to receive the transmissions of love. We're going to see the world in love. We're going to be patient with ourselves to get to this new state, because it doesn't take long, but we're going to be patient and continuously tilt our way into this ability to see all of life as love energy. It's a really nice way to think of it. We use the word energy, and whether it disturbs our energy, it all works. You see, love and energy is the same. It disturbs our love field, our God field. It's all one. It's truth. It disturbs the truth. It's all true, people. At some point, you're going to feel this love, and you're going to be thinking, yeah, I'm for this. This is what I represent. I'm not leaving this planet without making a commitment to this, because it's the most wonderful thing there is. So then when we're ready, we're going to lift this bar of gold and put it inside our minds as a permanent commitment, as a way of being. And we can do so because we understand that it's true, that we are love, that this is the right foundation for our identity. Wow, and once you've done that, you can walk home with tears in your eyes and realize you've just done something. So it's important when you're installing this KFAG model, it's going to be really important that you make sure you're doing it in a way which is beautiful, has real meaning for you. So you may want to do it in your garden. You may want to set up a little seat in your quiet garden, whatever you can find that's beautiful. And do it there, perhaps. This is all joy that I'm feeling here. It's unbelievable. And I know I can get to this state just by thinking about kindness. Now, I don't want to do that before I go out. But if I want to find calm and I want to be true to who I am and this day that I'm living right now, I know that I can go right down to this and be overwhelmed with this understanding, okay? All right, so this is part of step 1 of our nervous system reset detox has been achieved. There's only 4 steps. Here they are. Okay, so now you understand how this is going to work. You don't have to be fearful of this, obviously, because it's true. It's not going to damage you in any way. It's only going to heal you. I'll tell you more about how it will heal you in a big way in a minute. So both ways, remember, kindness to yourself and to others. So when you think about your old life and the things that you did wrong or the things that happened wrongly for you, you can forgive yourself or others. Well, that's now we're getting into forgiveness, so we'll go into forgiveness. Well, that's exactly what I was saying. It's time to forgive yourself. You can see how your life was just a reaction. You were just trying. You were struggling. You were doing your best. You were trying to make things work, of course. This is all any human being can do, is to try and achieve this calm and wonderful state, because we're programmed through love to feel fantastic. So with all of those small traumas that we all got through our lives, and as many of the big ones as we can, hopefully all of them, we can do them all at once and just say, okay, I see it. I'm going to forgive myself, and I'm going to forgive everybody, because I know that everybody was struggling And when I look outside now at people who are struggling, I can see that, yeah, they're not trying to purposely be nasty to anybody. They don't want to deep inside, or impolite or anything, just aggressive or in any way. They don't want to, but we can see it's just their reaction. They've been touched in some weird consciousness way, and they've just lost the plot because of some unhealed trauma earlier in their lives. So when we see things that do disturb us, at least we can understand why it is, and we can have some compassion for those people, even though they might rub us up the wrong way frequently. But given that, if that happens, we have the option to either do something that would help to calm the situation, or we can remove ourselves and leave those people as they are with the closed doors, because it's up to them. In the end, they have to use their own consciousness to get out of here. They could use a therapist to help them move their way, or they could find this video and move their way. But we can't always help them. So we have to get used to this idea that other people are also on a path. That person is still in here somewhere, but hopefully they're here. So the eternal hope is that within a year or day, or within a short period of time, they're going to find this too for themselves. And then they become our brother, our sister. This is just, we become one with each other here. This is all unity, okay? So even if you're seeing somebody who's in the midst of this, if you can get them to get you to help them, if you can get them to ask you how you manage to stay calm or help them, then you get license to be able to do so. But without them asking, you really just have to leave it to them. Okay, so we do our walk for forgiveness. So we might do that Saturday afternoon. So we're thinking about forgiveness for the whole half hour, at least an hour. At some point, we're going to realize, we're going to think about all of our lives with regards to what I just talked about. And we're going to forgive ourselves and others, all at once. Now, that doesn't mean that you'll never think of those things again. They'll pop up because it's all in your autopilot. But if it pops up, these are tools or weapons even. You can, with the weapons of love, throw kindness at it, throw forgiveness at it, throw acceptance and gratitude when we've done those. And then just close the door on that silly thought. It's no longer bothering you because you have a comprehensive understanding of the simplicity of how that came to be and why that happened. Our parents were struggling too. They didn't have the internet. They couldn't access this information either. Okay, so we've done the forgiveness block, let's say Saturday afternoon. And that's probably enough for a day, because you've got to do this seriously. You've got to, as I say, make it a beautiful thing for yourself, because this is precious. It's so precious. Okay. You might do the gratitude one next, let's say, because it's relatively straightforward. Acceptance has got a couple of things in it, but gratitude is what it sounds like. You're going to you have gratitude for yourself, which is fitness as well. That's going to come. If you've had trouble losing weight, getting fit, anything to do with your physical abilities, your health, this door will become open for you to be able to have successes in that area, because when you have gratitude for yourself and everything outside of you, that's the doorway. Now you've got somewhere to go, right? To achieve the goal of personal fitness and physical well-being. But you're going to go for a walk then, let's say Sunday morning, or sit in your garden and focus on gratitude. Inside, gratitude for everything outside, all of your life. At some point, you're going to think, okay, this is all good. I can see how this works. I can see it's not dangerous for me to install this. I'm going to make a deep, deep commitment to gratitude, because it's a no-brainer. It's just obviously the right thing to do. At some point, you're going to lift that gratitude block, gold block, and lay it in your mind on top of the other blocks. And you can go and rest again and know that you're on this magical journey. It's just literally, you can just start having anticipation and enthusiasm, because you might have intuited by now that this is just all going to work. It can't not work, right? This is why it's scientific. It's mechanical. Okay, and then finally we have acceptance. Now, acceptance is kind of everything that's left over. Normally I say, if you're born not good looking, that's tough. That can be a bumpy road. But equally, if you're born good looking, that can be really tough. That can be a really bumpy road too. So the point is to not be jealous. This is where you hear in the spiritual stories that everyone is on their own path, and they like to say perhaps that we even chose the life we're living because we need to see if we can manage this and find ourselves and stay centered. Are we up to this? Can we do it? So if you like those ideas, you can certainly add them to your cloud and say, yeah, I chose this life. I can handle it. So acceptance is all of those things. Your situation. We're all born into different communities, places, and it's tough for people in different ways. We have to be able to say, okay, I see this, and I'm okay with it. I'm happy with this start. In fact, I'm grateful for this start. Let me at it now. Let me. You start wanting to do this to life, because suddenly you have no fear, you see. In the old days, if you made a mistake, it's, oh no, I've messed up, I'm so stupid. When you're in this state, there is no mistake. You just do what you next need to do. You're going to do the next right thing. And the next right thing is make your life amazing and help yourself and help the people around you. And that's where this thing comes in. You feel powerful because you can handle it. You can handle people. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you can handle anything. So you can live in the moment now. You're not worrying about the future. You're not stressing about anything to do with the past anymore, because you've done the important thing, which is part of acceptance. You've got to have it's important in the mornings to have a good, solid self-identification routine, which is like yoga and thinking about beautiful things, to remind ourselves who we are. Because you see, when we wake up, we've just been unattentive, haven't we? We've been in some strange dream which we have no clue about. We've probably got some strange chemicals, feelings zooming through our body and blood because of those strange dreams. So it's really important to realize, oh, okay, I've got to center myself. It's a good idea to just simply make your bed first thing. Simply just get it done. And that way you're starting with a success. And then you go and pull out your yoga mat and you start doing your full body stretch. It only takes 10 minutes. Once you're used to it, it doesn't take long, and it's very peaceful and easy. Then you might want to do some weights or whatever, or jog on the spot, I find is useful. Maybe have a cold shower after that to stop the sweats, or sit in a cold pool. These are all little tests you can do, which you'll see in my other videos, they're there. But ultimately, when you realize you can sit in a cold pool for just a few minutes and then get out and towel yourself off so that you don't get the sweat, so you can go and dress properly straight away. But the fact that you're able to do that, and you know that in your previous life, this part of your life, that there's no way at all anybody would have convinced you to get into a cold shower, you know? But now you can. And when you do it, you feel strong. You realize, oh, I can do this. What, do I need to talk to some people to get this new kind of thing going that I'm trying to have happen? Piece of cake, bring it on. Who are these people? Where are they? You know? This bliss of being in this state is not to be under. It's profound, as I said before. Doing this is easy. Life here is really easy. Life here is very difficult. So install this KFAG model, and you will find you can make that transition simply by accepting love or God or truth into who you are. So acceptance, we've done the accept your situation. Now acceptance, it's both ways as well, of course, so accept that for myself, but accept other people in their situation and the fact that I can't fix them. So they're on their own path. Now the last part of acceptance that I can think of right now, which is really important, is that some people have a really deep trauma. And they will say something like, well, I just simply cannot forgive what happened, what happened. Then we move that thing into acceptance. So what we do there is we use the truism that if this trauma happened to you, you was there in that position, this other person committed some horrific thing against you, but you have to think of it this way. If it wasn't you sitting there, if it was somebody else sitting there, it would have happened to them. In a world where we're still living with ourselves in this fashion and other people in this fashion, sometimes real bad shit happens. But it's really important to know that that's just an expression of that other person. That's nothing to do with you. And if it had been somebody else sitting there, it would have happened to them. So what you can say in truth, in deep truth, is that you had that experience, yes. You lived through that experience. But that's all you're willing to give. You're not going to let it affect you anymore. You're going to steady yourself with your own identity of love. And you're just going to refuse to allow that event to badly color the rest of your life. It's just a decision. And you're going to let your other people know who know about this. You're going to say that you've sorted it, and you're going to close the door gently on that, and that you hope that one day you'll be able to help other people who've suffered similarly, because you have some empathy and knowledge about what it's like to go through an experience like that. So in that sense, acceptance is the thing that will finally lay to bed the final things that might still upset you. And acceptance is also that thing about the brain and how it will forget. This might be inspiring to you today, and tomorrow you might not even think of it unless you write it down. So what we do as part of acceptance is we start a journal. And each morning we just look at our journal, and you can use it for all your normal things. You can have the appointments that are coming up, so that it's all in one place. But I can show you a diagram for this. This one. So you'd have some quick notes at the top so that you've got an easy place to put new notes that you might be studying something about charisma or something. But the important part is your section on identity here. These are the ways, the short sentences or paragraph that you find helpful to help tilt and center your autopilot into being as closely aligned with love as possible. So at the top of this, at one stage I had Dino written there to refer to Dean Martin, to be more masculine and in a relaxed and calm way rather than overthinking, because so much of our problems is because we're all up in our heads. We need to get back into our hearts. So a good way to do that, if you're not doing the Dino thing for today or this week or this month, you could say, as a general one, a perfect one, is what else do I love about this? Where in your aware moments, when you realize, oh, here I am doing this thing, to look out and ask yourself, what else do I love about this? There's always something. So you're keeping your energy, your love center alive by doing this. Now, people do think that if we all do this, that we'll all become the same. And this is not true. Because we'll all want to express our creativity, ourselves, in the way that we want. And also, there's a certain amount that we can't change about how we operate, right? So my operation speed is quite fast. You won't often see me really zoned out and relaxed. Because I do have a fast manner way to be. However, here's where I say you don't have to slow yourself down and be in that slow mode to feel like that you've achieved success. But you do have to slow down when you're with people. That's the rule. Okay, so this is now a top-down. This is now starting to do some top-down. The way I describe this is by installing love into ourselves, by using the KFAG model, we should be centered, or at least being dragged. Gradually, our autopilot is going to change. Our thoughts and actions will change, and then very soon we'll find ourselves doing this because it just pays dividends. Everything is wonderful when you do this. Once you're here, you can use a few top-down things like the journaling to easily get yourself over here and to stop yourself from gradually falling back down here, right? So by doing these simple practices of yoga and self-attention to oneself, we can bring ourselves up here quite easily without it being a pain, okay? So just to keep ourselves away from trying to be a fundamentalist way up here. Because we need life to be enjoyable too, yes? So the rule can simply be slow down when you're with other people, because that's where it counts. You can't listen to another person if you're all up in your head. You have to slow down, you have to listen and focus on what they're saying, not on your answer, these sorts of sensible things. This is your nervous system reset. And then you can test it every now and again, a month or a year later, by asking a question: how happy am I to wake up each morning? If you're not looking forward to your morning routine, possibly you're losing a bit in your gratitude stakes, Bring your gratitude back up and realize, oh yes, I do have to spend some time to center myself. But you'll monitor it. This is all self-monitoring, you see. You are seeing what we're thinking and thinking, why am I thinking it? Does it relate to something stupid from my past? Am I wasting time doing this? Am I getting bad energy from doing this thought? And then fixing that, right? And then all of your behaviors. How have I done? How am I with other people? I just had a meeting with a bunch of people. How did that go? Did I stay in control? Or did I get all up in my head and flustered at some point? So we're just noticing and knowing what's right. We tilt our autopilot to being at its optimum. So this is identity. It's all about keeping ourselves as much as possible in love with ourselves and our life. We can have a to-do thing, but after that you might have one to do with masculinity and one to do with femininity, so that we again have a top-down prescription of what's right. Now this becomes really easy. You see, one of the reasons I had a lot of difficulty is because my social understanding of how things are supposed to work in the world was so wrong. I couldn't understand how to get a girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. Quite normal stuff. But the reasons I was confused, I couldn't figure them out while I was in this zone. Couldn't do it. But now, by having done my nervous system reset, and now choosing that I want to become more social and I want to have success with females and with other men too, in terms of being respected by men, the first thing I need to do is not rely on any information I had back then, because it was all wrong. So now all I'm going to do, I've installed love into my heart. This is for our our nervous system reset. We're doing that with putting love into our hearts. And now we're going to, by adding the social module, which we'll want to do, 99% of us, we're just going to do what works. So we're going to find out. And this is coming out. It's emerging right now. It's already all available. I've got some contacts here. You can go to Robert Glover, is kind of the main man of the world at the moment. I would suggest he's a good man as a leader for masculinity. And the girls agree as well. So this is not a contentious thing. But there's a certain prescription of what it is to be a man. And the women want us to be leaders. They want us to know ourselves and to be kind. One of the rules would be certainly never hurt a woman, right? But there are ways that we can that's actually prescribable, how that can happen, so that the genders both understand each other in a better way. Now there are others. Stefan Erdmann was an early one that I enjoyed. Corey Wayne has a 3% man thing. This is also on the right track. This is all good stuff. The research is being done. What works? For the females, we need to understand them too. So we need stuff there as well, written in here. When you're familiar with these things, now you can go out with your calm self, your calm, loving perspective, and you can start to create those neural pathways where you feel comfortable and emancipate yourself. You become bigger than you ever thought you possibly could become. In this mind, you just dreamed of being in this state, because this state, everything works. If it doesn't work, it's not painful. It's not a mistake or embarrassing or anything like that. It's just, oh, that's a learning mistake and a learning experience, or, oh, I did get all up in my head, so I can see why that didn't work. It all makes sense. So you have comfort. So being in this state of enlightenment doesn't mean everything is perfect and always going to go fantastically, because life still happens. But in this one, you're in control. Nothing surprises you. And you can accept everything, because what happens is true. That's another thing about truth. Whatever has already happened is true. Hence, we don't have to worry about the fact that since we came down from the trees, there's been a whole lot of wars and discord amongst people, and up to now, this has been the story of humanity. But we had to go through this. It was natural. This was part of the path. You see, I can bring this diagram out of here. This is the struggle of human civilization. Our animal origin, we had spears for hunting food, but eventually we started throwing them at each other as well. And then we got swords, we got horses to kill people quicker, automatic weapons, and now this is coming, drones. They're going to be able to really do a good job of murdering millions of people really fast for very few dollars. Of course, that sounds stupid, doesn't it? But look, there's another story that's been going alongside this, and that's the story of the philosophers of science. Buddha, Socrates, Aristotle, Jesus. Until Jesus came along, I would say these are all top-down methods. But when Jesus spoke of love, that was a profound one. Sadly, the mystical stories got attached to it, so it's taken a long time. But that was when we found out the power of love. Galileo came in here, so we're learning truth now from the scientific perspective, from outside of consciousness. Darwin. This is the formula love equals energy, which next year I hope to promote in a way which anybody clever understands it, so that they can also start speaking about it, because as long as it's only me, I understand this is a weak proposition. But when clever people start speaking about it, now I've got their credentials will count. You know what I mean? So that's my job. But when this happens, then we'll be able to see that we had to go through this to get to this, which goes on for meters and meters and meters, all into eternity. This is the thing that changes the entire universe from our perspective. It's because this formula is so true. It's our origin story. It's the meaning of life for humans, okay? Now, because we're all connected is the reason that we even have this formula, but also because we're all connected, we can get this off the ground. Because because this is so inarguable and delivers the human dream, which is peace on earth, no mental illness, everybody's 100% well and getting along, enjoying, learning, being scientists, being priests, healing, everybody's everything. It's just bliss. When I get this message out, people will recognize that this is true because it's the shortest truth possible. It's scientific enlightenment. When that's known by anybody who works in Facebook, Google, Microsoft, YouTube, they're going to tell their mates, they're going to tell their bosses. The bosses have to tell their bosses because it's a groundswell. It's going to be lifting. Everything's going to lift. So the bosses of these companies soon will do what I've asked, and that is simply to put this formula, feature it on every one of their web pages as a standard thing, just to say love equals energy, and that's what you represent. And what you'd be representing and doing that is well-being for all people. It's a no-brainer. You'd be representing changing schools, changing education to be focused centrally around identity, introducing the formulate option so that we can get this to the kids, get these diagrams to the kids, get these understandings to the kids so that there won't be any rebellion. There is nothing to rebel against, only bliss. And they'll be familiar that this is our path and that it won't end suddenly like this. The war won't stop the moment we say that love equals energy is true, but the rest of the world will soften when they understand that, because everything will go faster too. Again, the global warming solving of these sorts of things is going to go faster. It's going to be an advantage to the West if we start this first. It's going to be an advantage to Christianity if the Pope starts this first. It's going to be an advantage to any person who understands this to implement it for themselves first and then to tell other people when they get the opportunity. Okay, so I've got YouTube resources here. I remember discussions between Ian McGilchrist and John Cleese were the ones which, from the Christian perspective, made me think, oh, wow, yeah, this is all good, you know. I didn't have to rebel against religion anymore after listening to these chats. Buddhism, Sadhguru is a fabulous guy, and Dr. Michael Singer. Michael Singer, he's got lots of great stuff online as well, which is really simple for a Western mind to understand. It's all good. Psychology, we've got Dr. Paul Conti, Dr. Michael Gervais. These are all just top psychologists and sports optimizers. It's all about finding yourself and being comfortable with who you are. And with science, we've got Neil, don't even have to say deGrasse Tyson anymore, do you? Jim Al-Khalili, well-being podcasters. So there's so many of these podcasters, Rangan Chatterjee, Chris Williamson, Danica Patrick, Stephen Bartlett, it goes on and on, but there's the best quality podcasts currently where they are focusing on improving human behavior, human optimization. And they have all the best people in the world as guests. So I know that all of those people will agree with every aspect of this information. And remember, there's almost nothing here. It's all diagrams. It's just an understanding. And when we have this understanding, it all works. Now, I'm nearly finished, I think, but let's see. So we talk about the yoga. Make your bed, do some yoga, maybe do some weights. Running on the spot for 10 minutes, I find, is an equivalent to running a whole kilometre outside. But if there's car fumes out there, you just want to do it in your room, and you can watch your computer monitor while that's on. So, you know, you can make it all good. Have a cold shower or get in a cold pool. Stand up against the wall, I find, is really good. Arnold Schwarzenegger told me that. Up against the wall, just to remind your body what your proper posture is. Good stuff. So you do this is your morning routine. And then you go to your journal and figure out what you're doing for today. And usually You don't carry a whole lot of lists when you're simplifying your life like this. You just end up being able to do the next right thing. Sometimes it's housework, sometimes it's your work. Okay? Now, this is all about finding that inner calm. This picture is here because this kid looks a little young, but I remember being in about, let's see, picture yourself at any age when you were still a daydreamer. You have your elbow on the desk and your chin in your hands and you're looking out the window. It's a beautiful day. And then the teacher says, "Oh, Eric, stop daydreaming. Focus." And so, we're all trained to not be in that daydream state, but that daydream state is the one you're looking for. As an adult, it's not quite as daydreamy and useless as that, but that's the state you want to reconnect with. And you may find, like I did, that state is still in your mind. If you picture yourself back in that time, and then just if you like, say no to the teacher who says that you shouldn't be daydreaming, and just reconnect to that state, that's a good start. So you could think of that as another one of these clouds. And after a while, doing the KFAG model, remembering this, and you can get as calm as you need to. Okay. Okay. So this is that nervous system reset. And like I say, the social thing is you just do what works. Now, you don't have to. If you don't want to present yourself as a strong, attractive man in the best way possible, you don't have to. Likewise with femininity. We're all somewhere going to be in the middle, aren't we? And at different times of the day, we're going to be in different places as well. It's all your option. It's bliss. Have a good time. Knock yourself out. All right, so these are the thought curation. That's what we've been talking about for some time. The GIF technique is something, so that's a 2-second high-res video in my mind. And if I don't want to think about something, like a year ago when my car broke down, and it took a few weeks for it to get fixed, and I wasn't sure how much it would cost, blah, blah, blah. I just didn't want to think about it all the time. So whenever that thought came up, I would just play this 2-second video in my mind. And this 2-second video is simply something really edgy or sexy that makes you smile. Nobody's going to see it, so you can make it as graphic as you like, but the whole point is to make it graphic. Do this wonderful thing that makes you smile and go, "Oh yeah, that's great." And then go on with what you're doing. And if the thought comes up again about the car or whatever it is, run a slightly different version of that video. Keep doing that. And what happened is, after 2 or 3 months when I got my car fixed and sorted and everything, I realized, I'd got through that whole period as if it didn't even exist. It was just, I attended to the little things as required, but in between times, there was zero stress. So that's the GIF technique. Simplicity, just simplify things generally. Be aware of what's too much, Anti-fundamentalism, that thing of, if you spend all of your time then struggling to try and get to this end, that's also the wrong way to do this. There's no need for it. Anti-perfectionism as well is similar. Don't waste your time doing things all day when you know it's a procrastination, really. So keep an eye on yourself. It's that thought and action curation. Just see what you're doing and decide for yourself, is that the right thing or is that something I can fix? Mode awareness. I think we're good with that now. You can go fast or slow. We don't all have to be like spiritual people. Typically, they walk around and they do look the same and they're very calm and peaceful, but those are the kind of professionals in the field, like the Hare Krishnas or whatever. And Buddhists, they're professionals. They do this as a job, and that's good. But we don't have to resemble them and look like them for any reason. But we accept them, obviously. Mode awareness, tilt, the autopilot, love to learn. So I love watching Love Island because I can see the people and you can tell which ones know themselves, the ones who are strong identities. They won't have used the KFAG model, but you'd think they have because they're there, and you can see that, and you can't describe what it is that they're doing that makes them have that effect. But when people come along and start talking to them and they don't have this thing, they don't have that center that's strong, you can see that they are confused and reactive and trying to manipulate and trying to figure out. They're not trying to manipulate in a bad way. They're just in survival mode. They're living in a world of fear. Not high fear, but any fear lifts up our nervous system and makes us fraught after a while. When you're living in that for so long, it can get tiresome. Okay. So watching Love Island as a psychologist, knowing this stuff gets you to see it working and where it's not working, and you can see that, as the Buddhist would say, always the answer is relax. Yeah? That's what this is all about too, getting out and reset our nervous system, yeah? It's kind of handy, yeah. We think of the social aspect of just being an add-on because it really is that simple. Just do what works. You present yourself, stand up straight, you have clean clothes, put on some smells, enjoy, just love it, okay? Like I say, it's all bliss. Love Island is, Naked and Afraid, I told you about that with the original farmer. It's really awesome. And the people who turn up there with too much enthusiasm, they're the ones who don't quite have the mindset quite often, I notice. And the ones who are a little humble when they arrive, they do. This all fits with what we know about masculinity. The job for a man is to be respected by other men as well as by women. Yeah? So men, connection between men, man code, it's starting to look like that's an important thing, which we've it got shoved away 50 years ago, and it's got to come back. It is coming back, too strong in some cases, but foundationally, yeah, men have to have a good men's code. Females, they've got to have female code as well. And when we clarify what those short sentences are, to just say, this is what everybody agrees on. The females agree that that's great, and the males agree that that's great. Once we've got those sorted out, it's just a case of do it. You know, it's so easy. All of that emotional confusion and such will disappear. Below Deck is a good one if you want to learn about leadership. Captain Sandy is a fabulous example, and you get to see the way hierarchies can work, and you can figure out, my question is always, does the captain have to kind of keep themselves separate from the rest of the crew? And it seems like that's the case, doesn't it? It doesn't seem fair, but it does seem like it's the case. So we'll see if that's the truth. Maybe there'll be even better leaders that can really be in with the people and still be a really solid leader, and we can maybe, with a few sentences, prescribe what's going on there. Actually, I've got a clue on that, but it would take too long to explain. Ultimately, when you're living in love, and you can see Captain Sandy do this as well, actually. So when somebody doesn't do their job very well, she doesn't just get frustrated and plan to get rid of them. A good leader has spent enough time to get to know the person in their heart beyond all the surface stuff. And by getting to know them in their hearts and being able to help them where they need it, by quietening them down and finding out what they really need, you'll find, yes, they do want to perform. They don't want to be a klutz and whatever, They want to be able to do wonderful work. And so a good leader supports the employees or the people who are ranked below them in a very powerful way, but in a simple, loving way. And I think when that's installed properly, that's when a leader can also socialize with the people, because I think that can work. Anyway, we'll find out. It's all good. These are small problems. This will be like first world problems in a few years' time. Human history. So this is in your mind, your garden. Your mind becomes this beautiful garden. I remember once having this vision that I just was So happy. And I thought, my mind's like this amazing garden I can't show anybody. But then I thought, well, but other people can have their own beautiful gardens. And so this is sort of what this is. So the formula, as far as education would go, the formula would go in the middle, that we are one with a loving universe, that everything is love. This is a way to be, which is that emotional reset, nervous system reset, and then we've got work time optimization, alone time optimization, relationship optimization, and community optimization. Knowing that in the community, this is where all those doors usually are. All the doors of opportunity are out here. So once we've started to become more confident and powerful and enthusiastic and creative and motivated, well, we start enlarging all of these things, especially the community one. But these other ones, we start with ourselves, okay? We just deal with those, but we start with alone time optimization and then maybe introduce our partners to it because it's wonderful as well. If you're going to do this, try and get your friends to do it at the same time because that way you'll have discussion points and it's just going to empower you all to rise stronger and quicker. All right. Oh, yeah. And then around that would be human history. And then from human history comes all actual human knowledge that we, physics, technology, everything else that's true that we know, that we've figured out so far. Okay. And then, so that's that. This is actually the diagram for what I've just explained. See, all this in a field of truth, if the white page is truth and human knowledge is the circle, we know all of this stuff, and we've got the stuff we really know at the top in our minds. See, this diagram is sort of like it. So that's all our intellect, all of the stuff that we really know, and all the stuff down here, the psychology, the spiritual, religious, the arts, all of these things that are not factual quite as much as these things. It's because they belong to being human. It's to do with our hearts. And by having this way to be, which says we are love for the first time in a way that's really true, we can just remove all of that other stuff because it's all summarized in this, which means then we get to this sort of situation with, as far as education goes, that everyone will have this middle part, and then it's just everyone's individual bliss to start learning and just growing, and hence will solve everything that needs to be solved or that can be solved for human well-being. And this one, I'll finish off quickly with this one too then. So this is that thing of joining religion and science. So that rift happened a few hundred years ago when religion just wasn't interested in Galileo saying something about the sun being still and the earth going around the sun because it was just totally irrelevant. They're just not interested. So they just basically said no to science, which turned out to be a mistake because this really took off big time. So now the thing is, because though this is what Jesus represents, and because of what I described before, this is going to be an empowering and a massive thing for religion, and they're going to embrace love equals energy. When they do, that's cool. Science and all the rest of us who don't identify on that side of the thing, we will also grab it because of all the good that it does. Because we all for this, human 100% mental well-being. So when both sides, and because it's all true, this is all, it's truth. And it's God, it's love energy. It joins everybody together. No man is left behind in this. This is why we're going to spend the next 10 years celebrating on this planet. Because this is the only time it's ever going to happen in the universe. Something as profound as this. And we just have this realization it's going to be pretty special. Anyway, then we become unified. There's no more split in our societal personality, okay? So the church will soon focus on the words of Jesus instead of the mystical stories about Jesus. In this way, everyone can be welcome to celebrate love as a united community. Church grounds will be open, blah, 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 blah. Ending the modern scourge of loneliness. Did I mention before how this stuff is so simple and true that we can't really stop it from happening now. There's no way that the church will say no to this. There's no way that Facebook will say no to this. There's no way that anybody will be against this if they understand it. And to understand it is simply knowing a few ideas which are true. And that's it, people. I think that's pretty much all I can tell you. Okay, so I'll try and make a better video with this perspective sometime soon. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.